Yes, baby. Today is a day of holy matrimony because we are marrying wheat and corn to make Nixta Bagels. Nixta Bagels are a bagel recipe that I created using fresh masa and infusing it into my sourdough bagel dough. It's an excellent dough specifically for a spiral mixer because it's not too hydrated. So we get a really excellent pumpkin shape while the dough is mixing. We get a nice strong structure so that we can roll and shape our bagels. I'm gonna show you how to make it right now. Nixta baby. We are going to take our flour. This is a flour blend of spelt whole wheat and bread flour, all right? This flour is malted. So if you have flour that's not malted, you can add malt powder to it. It creates a nice shine on the surface of the bagel, and it also creates a creamy interior. All right, so we're going to add our flour to the bowl. If you've had your flour sitting in a bowl or sitting in a bag, it's gonna be very compact. And one of the cool functions of the Halo Pro is that I can pop the bowl back onto it, and using a low speed with just the flour in the bowl, I'm going to start the mixer so that we can aerate it. That's gonna create a lighter and fluffier texture. All right, so now it's the moment that I live for. It makes me feel better. It starts my day correctly. It gets me energized. Where are we at? Where are we at? Hey, that means we're about to make some bread. You know what I'm saying? That means we're about to mix some dough. I'm very excited. We're gonna start at 5%. We're gonna let the flour aerate. We can also add our sugar at this time. If you're using instant yeast, if you don't wanna make sourdough bagels, if you wanna make yeasted bagels, you could add the yeast at this stage as well. If you're using malt powder, because your flour wasn't malted, you could add the malt powder at this stage as well. So 30 grams of sugar. I've got light brown sugar. You can use granulated sugar. You can also use grated piloncillo or panela. You can use honey. I prefer to just use light brown sugar. It gives me a nice, not overly sweet or complex sugary flavor, and it's just not too potent. We're adding our sugar. That's gonna allow our ingredients to incorporate evenly during the mix before we add any water or sourdough or masa, all right? Now that this is aerated, we're gonna go up to 10%, and we're gonna prepare the rest of our additions. All right, water. I'm gonna use the water spout to add about half of my total water. Oh, the spout action's phenomenal. Come on and see this water spout. Come on, come on, come on, come on over here. Check out the landing point, how we hit the breaker bar. All right, look where it lands. Look at that. Incredible. Check it out, all right? You can start to see the water combining with the flour. That means that the proteins are activating and the gluten network is forming. So the importance of that breaker bar is so that we stretch that gluten network gently. A nice gentle stretch with a nice gentle rotation. Patience is key here, all right? So we want about half of the water in right now. We're gonna go up to 20%, which is about 105 RPM. Dough is forming. We're gonna continue to add some water. I got about half of my water in. Now it's time to add our sourdough pre-ferment. Sourdough pre-ferment has been, ooh, oh my God. Smell that? The more you feed it, the healthier it becomes. So make sure you're feeding your sourdough starter that good stuff, that good organic stuff, you know what I'm saying? You already know what it is. Okay, 200 gramos. We have our 200 grams of sourdough starter. Check out the incorporation of the sourdough. Look at that, that's beautiful. Get in there. We're gonna begin to add the rest of our water. That'll go right onto the side of the dough, or you can use the spout again. Boom, right into the middle. I'm reserving the last bit of water for when I incorporate the masa and the salt. So, water's almost in. We're gonna kick up the RPM. We're at 120 RPM now, 25%. This is a gentle mix. There's no real need to mix this dough fast. Remember, bagels have that nice, sturdy chew to them. So we wanna get a really solid gluten network forming here. Let me just add a little bit more water real quick. The dough is looking beautiful. This is a nice, slow mix. With the spiral technology, we have much less friction, so that is a gentler situation for our dough. We don't wanna be too rough with it and overmix it and overheat it. If you mix with planetary mixers, you overheat your dough. Sometimes your ingredients get lost at the bottom, and so you don't get even gentle incorporation. This is a dream for a baker, especially one like me. You know, coming from that professional setting, using spiral mixers all the time at work, being able to recreate breads of that quality at home is, I mean, I'm just, like I said, it's Christmas, you know what I'm saying? It's like every morning you heard me, 7 o'clock, waking up, getting a cup of coffee, having a conversation. Halo. We've made it to the point where it's time to get this dough together. All right, so we're gonna kick up the percentage to about 30. I told you earlier today that it was a day of holy matrimony. Well, services are starting. The bride and groom are here. You know what I'm saying? Here we go. 200 grams of masa. This is our fresh blue corn masa. This is a process in which corn is nixtamalized, which essentially means it's soaked in an alkaline solution, and then it is ground into this masa. So very fragrant, very nutty. As a baker, I'm always finding ways to incorporate my heritage and my culture into the things that I bake. So using something like masa that my mom used every weekend to make tortillas, and then, you know, I lived in New York and started getting into bagel culture, I wanted to find a way to marry those ideas. So that's what I'm talking about when I say I'm marrying wheat and corn. You can also go back in history to think about the fact that wheat was planted in the Americas and corn was obviously the native and preferred grain. So in Latin America, people have had to balance wheat and corn and use them simultaneously to make traditional baked goods. So I thought it'd be really fun to bring that tradition to bagel culture, and that's how you get Nixta Bagels, right? So because all of my dry ingredients and the water have been incorporated, I'm removing the lid. It's gonna make it very nice and easy for me to add the masa. And also, I love kind of getting in there and just watching my dough up close and personal. All right, nice and simple. All right, there we go. As I'm incorporating the masa, you can see that the bowl is virtually spotless. You don't have anything clumping up or lingering in the bowl that you have to worry about. Sometimes when you're using that planetary mixer, you think you mix this beautiful dough and you take it out and all of a sudden there's a clump of ingredients that was stuck there. So we're not getting that here. And this is no different than when you're adding softened butter to your dough while it's mixing. Any kind of addition that you want to make, you're going to get a cleaner incorporation if you mix it slowly when your gluten network starts to form, which you can see here. With the last bit of masa, we are going to add our salt and the remaining water, and then we are going to kick the speed up one final notch and finish our dough. 20 grams of salt. So all of our masa has been incorporated. Our gluten network looks exceptionally strong. We're adding the salt right into the center, and we are going to add the last bit of our water. When you add water throughout the mix, sometimes it looks like your dough just kind of breaks apart and the water is sitting on the surface. But when you give that spiral mixer some time, it will incorporate very, very smoothly and you won't get any grainy, broken apart textures in your dough. That's part of the temperature management. That's part of that gentle mixing element of the mixer. The dough is getting stretched and compressed repeatedly, but the elasticity of the gluten network is allowing it to come back together, and that mimics the shape of the pumpkin. We're going to turn our speed up to the final percentage that I'm getting to, which is 40%, or if you're using RPM, I'm at 165. That is gonna finish off the dough. Our masa is perfectly incorporated. I don't see any clumps. All I see is nice, beautiful blue speckling within the dough. The way that combines with the whole grain speckling, it creates a very unique color and shape. This is our pumpkin shape here. What else is there to say when you see a dough this perfectly formed? It smells incredible. The fragrance of the masa, the sourdough, and the fresh blend of flour is unbeatable. All right, so we stopped the mix. Our dough's looking phenomenal. It's time to start the bulk fermentation process. So we're gonna get the dough out of the mixer. Very simple here. I'm gonna take our dough hook out. Look at the elasticity of the dough. And of course, removing the bowl makes things so easy. Look how clean the bowl is. No dough is really sticking to my hands. No dough is sticking to the bowl. Look at our dough. I mean, look at this dough. Look at this dough. It is perfect. All right, look at this. Smooth as they come. As smooth as they come. All right, we're talking about 20% masa. We're talking about sourdough, whole grains, a nice little flour blend. Look at the smoothness. All right, a little more than doubling in size is what we're anticipating. Room temperature, 4 hours. See you in a bit. Now we will divide the dough. All right, this is one of my favorite parts of making these Nixta bagels because shaping bagels is awesome. All right, I'm gonna show you how to hand roll them. All right, our dough is looking exceptional. As you can see, we have an incredible gluten network. This is nuts. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful structure in our dough. Look at the stable, bouncy, look at that. It's got some body to it. It's strong, it's bouncy. That's what you need in bagel dough because you need that nice chew in your bagel. So we're gonna divide the dough into 150 gram pieces, all right? And once they're all divided, we're gonna pre-shape them before we do our final shape. This is a technique I learned in Miami. Shout out El Bagel. This ain't no game. We ain't playing no games, man. We're hitting the weight here. Tell me that's 150 on the dot. Sheesh, that was the worst one I did. All right, our dough is divided. So take our dough balls, round them, and as soon as you get a round shape, make a little log. All right, here's our beautiful smooth surface. Here's the seam. We're gonna put it down right there. So again, rounding the dough until it's smooth, and then using your palm to create a little log. All right, we're gonna let these rest for about 5 to 10 minutes. And after that gluten network relaxes, we are gonna do our final bagel shape. I'm back. All right, y'all, it's time to roll and shape our Nixta bagels. This is the most fun part of making bagels. It's like a meditation. I cannot wait for you to try this at home, all right? So very simple, I'm gonna walk you through how I take our rested, pre-shaped bagel dough and shape them into beautiful hand-rolled bagels. So we don't need any flour. The key is to work quickly and with confidence, all right? So let me show you how to do it. Taking one hand, I start the process just like that. And once I have a little bit of elongation, I use both hands. Once both of my hands are here and they cover the length of the dough, that's when I can flip it around my hand like this and roll it into our beautiful bagel shape. We're gonna ferment our bagels overnight in our dough box. I have a piece of parchment in the dough box just to help the bagel dough from sticking to it. All right, so very simple. I'm gonna fit 6 into that dough box, all right? So shaping again, one hand, switches to 2, goes around, hand rolled. Whoo, was that too fast for you? I had a lot of meditative early mornings, rolling bagels, traditional bagels, and it kind of kickstarted my desire to learn more about the process and do it at home. So I began experimenting with different flours, different fermentation techniques, whole grain, some with just sugar, some with just honey, some boiled in malt syrup, some boiled in piloncillo syrup, until I came out with this recipe. It really has the perfect balance and flavors, the perfect amount of corn to where your gluten network doesn't get disrupted to the point where it can't form properly or it comes out gummy. If you go like 35% masa, you're gonna run into some issues with the bake. You'll get a little bit of a gummy texture in there. So that 20% number is exactly where I like to be. And I think that you guys will have a lot of success with it. After they ferment in the fridge, we're going to boil and bake them. It is time to boil and bake our Nyxa bagels. I'm so excited because the dough had a nice, long, cold nap, got that good fermentation. You're gonna see that on the surface of the bagel when they're baked, the blistering, the color, the flavor. You don't actually wanna boil the bagels on high, you just want a gentle simmer. I like to use piloncillo syrup, which is a simple syrup made from this piloncillo cone, all right? You can also use the traditional barley malt syrup. You can also use honey. So we're gonna add that to our water. As you can see, that kind of cools it down. All right, so opening up here, beautiful. You can start to see a little bit of the air pockets expanding on the surface, and that's how you know you got some good fermentation. They also kind of grew in size. That's a good thing, all right? You don't want your water to be at a full rolling boil. So right when you see that gentle little bubbling up on the sides, but not too much in the middle, is when you know it's time to drop your bagels in. The bagel dough itself will cool the water down as well. All right, beautiful, 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 beautiful. Let me get another one. Oh yeah, look at that. All right, dropping in. If you drop your Nyxa bagels in and they stay right on the surface immediately, you're in business. All right, this is exceptional. We're gonna do this for about 30 seconds per side. So we'll use our spider here. All right, you can kind of just, start to do some stuff like that. All right, you can flip them. It's absolutely critical that they're boiled so that you can get that traditional chewy texture on the surface. All right, don't skip it. Here we go. All right, after about 30 seconds per side, you can see that they've got a nice structure to them. If you boil them any longer, they'll start to collapse. So we will take it out, plop them right there so that the excess moisture can drip down, and we're gonna seed these with sesame seeds, all right? It's hot, so you gotta work quick. Oh, my man, that's beautiful. All right, making a little bit of a mess here, but that's okay. Onto our sheet tray. Here's another one. I want maximum seedage, all right? So I cover both sides. I don't do that. Sometimes they boil them and they sprinkle like 3 seeds on it. Come on, bruh. Seed your bagels, seed your bagels. All right, these are ready to go into the oven. We're gonna bake them for about 15 minutes. You can do these plain, you can do them with flaky salt, poppy seeds. I love a good sesame seeded bagel. And action, baby. Hot Nixta Bagels, hitting the deck. Oh, made a mess again. They look incredible. The bake is done, they're fresh out the oven. I did a couple different types. There's a plain Nixta bagel here. This is the bagel that you can really see the fermentation on. See the blistering, you can see the color of the crust. That indicates you had a nice, long, cold fermentation on your bagel. The bottom looks really nice as well. Now, traditionally, these are baked on rotating stone ovens. Y'all probably ain't got a rotating oven at home, but if you're using a sheet tray, this is the consistency of the bake that you're looking for in a regular convection oven. We also got a salt bagel. Everybody loves a good salt Nixta bagel. And of course, my favorite, if you can tell, sesame. This one was rolled, and maybe during the boil or the bake, it kind of split, but it gives you an opportunity to see the nice purple hue from the blue masa that's incorporated there. So I'm very excited. We're gonna cut these open. All right, we're gonna serve it with a mole schmear. I'm gonna make that right now. We're gonna use some mole. All right, if you can't find it fresh at a Mexican grocery store, you can likely find some sort of jarred version or something like that. But the mole is gonna give this a nice kick. And we're gonna use our spatula. We got some softened whipped cream cheese here. We're gonna mix this up. You want the mole to kind of accent. You don't want it to be too potent. All right, enough of that. Moment of truth, we're gonna cut into our Nixta bagels. We're gonna check out the crumb structure, and we're going to eat it with our mole schmear. So here's our beautiful bagel there, beautiful bake. All right, look at that. It's soft, bouncy, it's nice and airy. The last thing you want is a loose bagel dough. You don't want it to be too highly hydrated. We're around 60%, give or take, and the masa amount is about 20%. So that still enables us to get a beautiful gluten network in the bagel. Anyway, I'm gonna open up another one. We'll do a little open face situation. Beautiful, nice and even. I'm gonna get some of this mole schmear here. And just like that, we have perfectly baked Nixta bagels, our mole schmear. Immediately when I taste it, I get that masa, I get that sourdough fermentation. None of it is too potent, none of it is too overpowering. It's almost like the perfect little mix of the two flavors. Like I said, this was holy matrimony. This was a marriage of wheat and corn in the best possible way. The schmear is nice. It's got a little kick to it from the mole. And of course, our beautiful, delicate cream cheese. This is a banger, baby. I mean, I know y'all gotta keep working, but I'm done.